Welcome back, WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore positive. I am positively back, wearing my long sleeve Coons Ford shirt today because, and I did not need long sleeves, although I had them on Sunday. 90 degrees at SoFi Stadium on Sunday. Great football game, great week, and all of it presented, of course, by our sponsors. And we always like to thank the folks that send us on the road and give us the life we have 28 years into this. Dennis Koulatsos is one of those guys. You can find him on Thursday from 3 until 5, and again on Sunday between 8 and noon around here with the Sunday Sports Voice. Man, I want to give you some oxygen on all this because you and I usually get together like right after the game. I'm flying all day Monday back from Anaheim and trying to get back. And when it marinates a little bit that the season's over, the weirdest part for me, and I said this to Luke, where's spring training? Where's baseball? Where's March? Where's the next thing, the Preakness, whatever your thing is? I'm probably going to throw myself into the football off season full time because, like, that's going to be more interesting than probably anything else that's going on right now, Den.
Yeah, I'm with you, Ness. I mean, I can't support the Olympics. I can't support an oppressive regime such as China. I don't believe our athletes should have gone over there. So, like you, I'm going to immerse myself in off-season moves for the NFL, the draft as it comes up in April, and all things are the NFL because to me, it's the best sport around, and there's really not much else going on. It's a shame with baseball what they're doing. They've never learned, and to me, you have to have soft deadlines and then a hard deadline before the real deadline to come to an agreement for the greater good of the league, the game, the sport, right? And also the fans who ultimately pay the bills. But for me, it's football all the time.
Well, they've kind of sold out Florida and Arizona too. One of their promises is spring training, and spring training's like the first thing that we don't need it. Pitchers and catchers reporting. But for the NFL, and I want to say this as someone who's done this for 28 years, was there last week. They treat the media like trash, and I will be spending long. I mean, I talked to a lot of people in the media at length last week about where the league is going and how they're going to treat people like me with a press badge. And, I got a great taste of all of that. But the league itself for the offseason and for the drama we're going to have now, where this Dolphins owner was throwing games, they're clearly there's some racial tones beyond anything we understand, where there's one black coach, now two, maybe 2.5, depends on who you're asking, right, out of 32. And the Daniel Snyder thing, not to mention that the Ravens have a new president, that the Ravens have problems right now because they need better players, that Calais Campbell wants to play, and is he going to be a Raven or is he not? Not to mention what we witnessed this week, which was the Rams and this emergence of a team now, and where the Bengals are. There's enough meat on the bone for me in the offseason here for free agency, for the new way that Ravens are going to do business with Sashi Brown, to the draft itself, to the offseason, that I won't miss the Orioles losing 97 games this year if they decide not to do that, because I can stay up with the drama of the NFL, and I think the NFL is going to provide plenty of drama this offseason, and they're not going to play a game for 8 months. There's going to be a lot of ish that's going to happen between now and September 10th or whenever they're kicking off.
I think it's really interesting, Nestor, when you hear Sean McVay speak about possibly retiring. He hasn't committed to coaching next season, 36 years old, one Super Bowl victory, one loss, but you're starting to, a lot of people are talking retirement. We saw Aaron Donald talk about it before the game, and perhaps Von Miller said he's going to get hungry. He's going to be hungry to get another one. You mentioned Calais Campbell. He flirted with retirement, but I guess he saw the celebration on the field.
Eric Weddle did something nobody would ever think of doing, that I don't even know that we thought that was possible, right? Like, if you would have said to me in November, Eric Weddle's going to come back in January, play good football, and win a championship, you would have told me I was out of my mind. Like, literally, that's so improbable. I mean, when I think of the great stories, of all the Super Bowls, it's a pretty good story, Eric Weddle.
It's a Hollywood story, right? So it's appropriate that the game was played in LA, but yeah, I mean, he tore a pec, so he'll have to rehab that pec, and I can't see him playing again, right? He culminated a wonderful career, dusted himself off a couch 2 years later, Ness, and won himself a Super Bowl. And he was a factor in the playoffs as well. And in the game, he gutted out, played the game and whatnot, but The game itself I thought was pretty good. It wasn't great. It was a good game, lots of drama. And I have to tell you, I wasn't too upset that the Bengals ended up losing. And I thought it was a fitting that Aaron Donald was the made a play of the game there to salt it away for the Rams.
How did he not get the MVP?
You know what? I'm with you. I mean, that guy was a monster. He was a disruptor. He was a difference maker. And before the game, I said that Quentin Spain against him was a gross mismatch. And of course, as the game wore on, and Donald, of course, Nestor, he's stronger than most big men, and he's quicker than most small men. So he's just a freak of nature and a joy to watch.
Well, I think about the Rams in retrospect. I guess OBJ will write 2 books here in the offseason, right? But the players they have and the quality of players, right? Like all the Stafford for Hall of Fame and all that. Look, Aaron Donald, Von Miller, uh, uh, Whitworth,
Oh yeah.
Weddle, some really good players. I mean, really like generationally good players that when you look at that team and look at the team picture and look at the names on the Stanley Cup and say, these are the names, these are the players that played for the Rams, Jalen Ramsey, you'd say they had some really good football players. They might have the most talent in the league because of the way they stack things up, because of the way they gave draft picks away. And I don't want to say I discount the best talent, but I didn't. First off, they didn't have Von Miller and Odell Beckham Jr. a couple weeks ago, and knowing those guys were going to play and where their pedigree is, different kind of pedigree. And they cashed the check, and they cashed Kroenke's check, Goodell's check, everything they did to screw St. Louis and the $900 million they have to give St. Louis. The fact that this thing was so orchestrated, and I showed up on the corner of the Pacific in Inglewood. I get out of the media van, guys rolling J's on the corner, blunts everywhere, and then you walk through the gates, and it's water and ducks and the NFA. Like, I mean, really on the edge of some really challenged neighborhoods. It was a wild day in LA. That's all I'm going to say. And more than that, I traveled to parties. I went to all the Hollywood stuff. No one's wearing Rams gear. No one's wearing Bengals gear. And then I
Wow.
show up at the game, and half of Cincinnati showed up. They must have been staying in Ontario or out in Sacramento or something, Fresno. But I get situated for the game, and I looked to my left, and it was the jungle. It like the Bengals fans were rabid. They were into it. I peed with the regular people in the stadium, not in the auxiliary. So I peed a dozen times during the game because I'm drinking water. And every time I went in there, the Who Days and the excitement, I felt bad for them. I really did because there are no Rams fans. You know what I mean? Like there just aren't. And I felt for the people that flew out there. I saw a few people in the airport the morning after, and I thought, because they had the game won, kind of, sort of, right? I mean, they were in a
A
position with a
couple of
couple of
times it
minutes
did.
left to win a Super Bowl. That's devastating if you're a Bengals fan. If you're a real Bengals fan.
They were there a couple of times. They were on the brink of blowing out the Rams, right? And but give credit to the Rams. They dug in, and you got to feel good from Matt Stafford. All those years of getting beat up in Detroit and getting the snot knocked out of him. The story with his wife. So it was many lines, many Hollywood scripted type of lines, storylines during the game, Ness. And again, I thought it was well done. I started watching it about 4 o'clock on TV and enjoyed the commercials, enjoyed all the pregame stuff, enjoyed the halftime show. I just enjoyed the whole venue. It was nice that I didn't have a rooting interest. I really could care less who would have won the game. So it was just nice to sit back as a fan and take it all in.
Dennis, I know you're a nice guy. You're selling cars over at Coons, and you've got a good soul and a good heart, but I know you really harbor some animosity toward Indianapolis. And I can only imagine one thing we never had to endure here was watching Ursay win. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we never had to endure that, right? If you're in St. Louis and watching Goodell hand the trophy to Kroenke 5 years after he rips the franchise out, lied along the way, got sued, and wrote the check. Um, and I will say this to you, and I know you don't travel as much, you don't love to travel as much as maybe I do. Go see that stadium. I mean, like,
It's a
and
beautiful
I'm not even
stadium.
saying
Yeah.
it from I've been to Dallas. You don't need to see that. I've
Been
been to
there.
Vegas. You don't need to see that. I've been to Atlanta. Pretty nice. I've been to Minnesota. Different. You should see Minnesota. Like, that's a place you should go and check out. But it's just a football game, right? I mean, it's just you're in downtown Minnesota. You go to the Mall of America or whatever. This thing here, for all of the political ramblings, three franchises, four really being displaced. They moved the 49ers too. 49ers
Mhm.
moved from San Francisco to Santa Clara. That's, equidistant to the Ravens moving to, Westminster at the very least. It's a long way.
Mhm.
And then the other three franchises all literally moved right through all of this to get this stadium built, to get Jerry Jones in on it. And from the minute you walk in there in the campus, as they call it on NFL Network,
Mm.
I mean, it reeks of money, it reeks of wealth, it reeks of opulence, but it's on a 90-degree day. There was shade. There were $22 beers,
Mm.
$31 brisket sandwiches, everything you would want for a Sunday at the park. But I mean, it really was beautiful. Like, if you get a chance to go and sit in the upper deck and spend $100 on a ticket or whatever, go do it. I mean, it was different than any other stadium experience, and you could not feel it. I mean, when you're walking around, you're like, I ain't ever been here before. I mean, like, most of the other stadiums feel like another stadium. Most of the domes feel like other domes. This place is different for sure.
Yeah, I read where they had to dig a big hole in the ground. That's because it could only be so high that when the city didn't want to destroy the skyline. So this thing actually goes into the ground. I know they have crosswinds, et cetera. They can do different things. So aesthetically, it's a beautiful stadium. You can't help but notice the big oval ring around the field that they display stuff on. Aesthetically, it's just probably the most beautiful stadium I've seen. It's way up there.
Well, I was up on the roof when Eminem was dropping to a knee and Mary J was kicking it and Snoop was doing his thing. I know the halftime show got everybody going, but it's over now, right? Like, so
Yeah.
season's done. We're good. Football starts. Everybody's 0-0 again. Where are you with the Ravens right now? Because this is where it got me. Calais Campbell makes a little news, right? Like, what's he going
Mhm.
to do? The Ravens do this Sashi Brown drop, and I don't know when that press conference is happening. I guess we'll figure all that out now that we're back, and Eric and John are settled in and getting their draft board together in the combine. The owners' meetings are a couple of weeks away for all of this. But I was watching Russell Wilson work Radio Row on Friday, and I started thinking the tectonic plates of Green Bay, Tampa, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Seattle. Those are just off the top of my head. Arizona, Houston, Kyler Murray,
Mhm.
quarterback problems, right? Like, I remember a couple years ago in Minnesota when everything went down with Kirk Cousins signing there and seats changing. It's going to happen. The next 3, 4, 5 weeks in the NFL going to be way more interesting than anything that would happen in Scottsdale or Sarasota for spring training. I mean, the NFL over the next couple of weeks, it's going to be a lot of activity, and I'm not just talking about the legal stuff with the Dolphins and the creep that owns the Reds, or the Commanders,
Yeah. Yeah.
Commanders. Yeah.
Commanders.
I will keep wanting to call them the Commodores, but that's.
Ah,
I have the funniest story to tell you. I'm going to embarrass myself. You want to laugh at me?
come on,
All right.
bring it.
You ever mistaken identity, anyone?
Yes, and I vow not to do it again.
Okay, and when you've
That's
done it,
embarrassing.
when you've done it, you want to embarrass yourself? You want to tell me about a mistaken identity where a person walked in the dealership and you thought his name was Carl and it was Biff, right?
Yeah,
I've
when
had
you
it
get
happen twice in my
yeah,
life, and it
yeah,
happened last week. All right, so I'm going to give you the first one, and I'm wearing red, so this is a good. I'm wearing my
okay,
Coons Ford
okay.
shirt. I was at the All-Star game. I want to say it was Arlington, Texas, early in my career. It might have been a little later than that. I confused Ron Gant with another Reds player at an All-Star game.
Mm.
And I went up. I'm trying to even think who the player is. He only made one All-Star. He was a really wonderful guy, the guy from the Reds, because he said, I get that all the time. Like, I'm as red as the shirt because I called Ron Darrell or something. Whatever it
Oh,
was. There were two players. I'm trying to think who the player was.
a bad feeling.
I did this last week. Are you ready for this? I haven't told the story on the air, and when I get Jack Del Rio on the air, he'll confirm this story with me. Okay. I'm at the Super Bowl. I'm on Radio Row. You saw the pictures behind me. There was not a lot going on Monday, right? Tuesday it got a little more active, and Anthony Munoz was walking around. Saw him over there. I saw him over there. And I don't know why. I didn't tackle him. I didn't tackle Kurt Warner. I didn't tackle Barry Sanders. These people were all 5 feet from my table. Sean Payton, I tried to tackle, couldn't get him on. But like, I'm not, Andre Reed was sitting here for a couple hours. I didn't grab him. Kyle Richardson came over. I didn't get every guest I could. I mean, maybe I should work harder next year. But Anthony Munoz would walk by, and I'm like, he'll be here again. And he was, and then he wasn't. And I saw him walking through, and I've had him on before. And, I'm mutual friends with Marvin, the whole deal. And he wasn't wearing his jacket or anything. He was just like in a shirt. Not unusual. Saw him on Tuesday, and then I saw him on Wednesday. So Thursday morning, I'm walking through the media center. I went over to visit with JT the Brick, and I'm walking back, and I see Anthony Munoz sitting on the set. And I walk around the backside, and I say to the woman standing there, is it possible to get Mr. Munoz on the show? And she said, you want Coach Rivera on?
No.
Dennis, it was his wife. And when I got behind him, I looked up. He was wearing, and you'll appreciate this. You ever see It's a Mad, 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 Mad World? The movie?
Yes.
He was wearing the big W. He was wearing the big W. He had the burgundy W, the new jacket.
I got you.
And he was sitting, and I came around the back of him, and I just thought it was Anthony Munoz.
Right. But you saw him from the back, though, in all fairness to you.
Dennis, my face went as red as the shirt. And before I could even say Mr. Munoz, she said, do you want Coach Rivera? And I was like, and it's his wife. It's his wife. And I said, I'm wearing a mask. And I'm like, Mrs. Rivera, it's a good thing I'm wearing this mask. It's the second time in my life I've done this. It's the most embarrassing thing ever. I said, but what's funnier is Jack Del Rio is one of my best pals. I have to text him. So I text Jack. He texts me back something very off color that I'm not allowed to say on the air. That was an inside joke about perhaps Munoz and Ron Rivera looking alike. And so that was my Radio Row weeks. I figured I haven't told that. I don't know if I'm going to tell that story again, but while I'm wearing a red shirt. So Coach Rivera was a good sport. I gave him an elbow bump. He laughed. I sent Jack a text. Jack texted me back. We had a laugh about it. I did not get Coach Rivera on. But I guess to my point is there's a lot of action going on when Coach Rivera is doing damage control. Russell Wilson's running around. They're giving awards out. The league itself, you don't need baseball right now. You don't need March. I just think the league the next 6 or 8 weeks is going to be very, very compelling to watch without any games being played.
Yeah, lots of storylines, 9 new coaches, as you mentioned, all the smoke from the lawsuits, etc., going around. Ravens are enough of a story, right? With the new defensive coordinator, the new assistants coming on board, the team preparing for the free agents that are leaving, and not many coming. They just don't have the cap space, the draft.
And by the way, the team's not good enough right now, right? Can we all admit that? I mean, 8-3, whatever we were, they have work to do.
Well, they were 8-9, right?
I just watched the Rams play and the Bengals play. At the end of the year, certainly the last taste we had of the last month or two, they weren't good enough to win games like that as constructed.
They were 8-9, and I'm a big proponent of they are what they are. I'm a big Parcells, fan who always said, you are no better than what your record is. So 8-9 is what they have to live with. And I've seen some preseason power rankings already, which I think are very responsible before free agency, before the NFL draft, before the quarterbacks get signed or not. So a lot of pundits have the Ravens as a top 10 team. And at this point, I can't make that statement. I think it's irresponsible to talk about power rankings when we're so far away from the first kickoff of the NFL season.
Well, they haven't won a game since November either.
They haven't.
Right? And so Marlon Humphrey rolls through radio last week. He's the only Raven. Matt Judon tried 3 different times to come over, and somehow we misconnected. I never got him on. And Matt was super kind. Marlon Humphrey walked through Radio Row. No interest in talking to me. None.
Wow.
0 interest in talking to a guy from Baltimore. None. So, but I went up. I did my best and tried to tell him I'm new to town and I'm new to this radio thing, and maybe he should give me a try and come on the show. Like, Ravens players do. So I have no report on Marlon Humphrey other than he was walking around being well compensated for his visits on Radio Row last week. So
Yeah.
I don't know, but it would be interesting to be talking to local people and talking to the coach and talking to the general manager. But and we'll see. I mean, they've got a lot. They got a lot going on out there with Lamar's
Oh,
contract.
that's the
All
big
these
one
new
right there.
regimes.
You just said it. The Lamar contract is the most fascinating thing I think in the NFL right now because it's unheard of, right? It's unprecedented. You have a player that doesn't have representation. It's like going to court without a lawyer. It's akin to that. So Lamar, for him to be nonchalant and dragging his feet, I'm curious to see if he showed up to camp without a contract. Because if I'm his agent, there's no way my player comes in there exposing himself to injury without having his long-term status secured. So I think it's just a very fascinating story.
Well, we'll be following it with or without Marlon Humphrey. That is the selling cars out of Coons Ford. He will be here on Thursday, and again, of course, again on Sunday morning between 8 and noon. You can catch him 3 until 5. The Koulatsos Show is the way to find him out on Twitter. And you chippy about anything? You good? You just it's just an exhale here after the Super Bowl a little bit. You catching your breath?
Yeah, just a lot of stuff going on. A lot of Kyler Murray, as you mentioned in the news, and um, Lamar. A lot of big stories just to keep an eye on, and these things could explode at any moment. And there's going to be a lot of quarterback changes too, as you mentioned. This is
Yeah, I
going to
mean,
be a very
what Aaron Rodgers wants to do and what Russell Wilson want. I mean, we've seen when Tom Brady wanted to do something, he went and did it.
oh
And I
yeah.
would think if Rodgers really sniffs out of Green Bay, he can pick his spot now, and now's the time to pick it. Hey, I was with the Tennessee Titans people, Jim Wyatt, right? Like they're done with Tannehill, right? San Francisco's done with Garoppolo, right? I mean, like the Rams were done with Goff. Very controversial by their cocky 34-year-old coach. They go
Yeah.
out and pick up Matt Stafford, win a Super Bowl. So I just think every day for the next 3-4 weeks, the owners' meetings are 6 weeks away. There's just the NFL is going to be a full-time gig the next couple. I'm going to stay more interested in it than I usually do this time of the year because I see the Ravens as in not peril, but certainly washing out toward the water a little bit more than they usually are on the shore where their off seasons are buttoned up and you know exactly what they're going to do. Because I don't know that they really know what's going to happen with Stanley or Boyle or, they believe Humphrey will be back fine, right? But Peters, I don't, even Lamar, I don't know. I think there's a lot of questions when you lose 6 games in a row and a lot of bad vibe and a lot of Jim Schwartz used to call it RA. He called it red ass. That's what happens on the Monday morning after you lose. You're pissed all week. When you lose 6 games in a row to end the season, I don't think John's going to be out of fellowship of Christian athletes being real happy this offseason or Eric's going to be I don't see this as a happy off season, and they have a new president coming in trying to figure his way out. They have tickets to sell, sponsorships, calling on companies like yours and mine trying to sell things. This is this is choppy water for them, and I don't want to say they should be careful. I think they're well led. I think they have great leaders, but this is going to be a testament to their leadership because I think a lot of people in the league have sort of caught up in a lot of ways. When when the Bengals are passing you, it's for the Steelers and for them. They're going to be long nights for both organizations.
Well, I think change is rough in the beginning, messy in the middle, and potentially glorious in the end, and that's what I'm hoping for. Change
Looked
isn't
pretty
always a bad
glorious for the
thing.
Rams the other day, right?
They changed right for the better. People said, "What are you doing?" And guess what? They went all in, and all in worked.
I'm
It's
sorry I brought that thing up about Bob Irsay holding the trophy in Indianapolis and how, but like that's literally what happened to the people in St. Louis. We never had to endure that. At least
yeah.
poor people in
No,
Cleveland had to watch art.
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair statement, right? It is what it is. It wasn't inaccurate. You spoke the truth, and
They still
that's
have
what we
better
do.
frozen custard in St. Louis than they got anywhere else, and I'm going to say that, and I'm going to stick with it. Dennis Koulatsos is here. You can find him on Thursday, find him on Sunday. Tell me what's going on at the dealership too, right? Because we got things happening right now with cars.
Yeah, we have a President's Day sale coming up, which signals the start of the spring selling season. So we have lots and lots of vehicles, new and pre-loved. Rates are very low, still 0% for 60 months out there. And if anybody's looking for a vehicle, there's only one place to come to, and that's Coons Ford of Baltimore. Open from 8 a.m. until 9 p.m., 6 days a week.
All right, and you'll hear Den talking about his cell phone number all through the programming around here. Hey, I appreciate you. We'll see you on Thursday, all right? I mean, I don't think we're going to lack for things to talk about. And as Luke pointed out, we're already 2 weeks ahead. It's already the end of February. Like, the Super Bowl just ended. Everything's going to be on a shorter track here, I think, as we get ready for draft season. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive in Coons Baltimore 4.